Hello and welcome to your video on a little cryptography. So this is a little bit of help with your project, and everyone in the room is laughing at me. Okay. So this is a little bit of help with your Cipher project. So I've done a little bit of legwork first. I've set up a model. I've set up a view with some fields for usernames and passwords and login and register. Pretty hideous UI, but that's okay. We don't care about that. Here's an output area that should probably be set to public while I'm sitting here. Okay, and there's no other methods in the view, so it's just the standard stuff. And then in the controller, we set up a variable for the model, 2 action listeners for register and login. We set up a variable for the view. We've created a key for the cipher, which we'll talk about in a second, and then I've imported our 2 action event and action listener packages. So nothing out of the ordinary. I've also set up the action listeners, and they do in fact work. Okay, so let's get into what we need to do. First thing in our project is we need to accept user information and validate it and make sure that they're giving us some correct stuff. So a lot of you in your previous projects, when you went to handle user submissions, say they hit the register button without username being filled in, it would just throw an error. And we don't really want it to do that. So let's show you how to handle some of that here. I'm actually going to do this in the action listener, which is fine when you're doing this. So let's go ahead and we'll test out if we can go. This is in the register action listener, by the way. View dot. Oopsie. Whoa. What is this? Username. This is JText field 3. Let's call it something else. We'll call this register username, and that should also be public. So we should probably change this variable name to registration username and set it to be public, as well as the password, registration password, and set it to be public. All right. So we're going to check that out in our controller. We want to say if view, come on, man, if view dot registration username dot get text. So how can we check to see if they've actually typed something in? We definitely don't want it to be blank, so we can probably just say if the length of the text, so getText.length, and if it's greater than 0, that's good. That means there's something in it. So, yay, let's work. But if it's not greater than 0, we want to do something. So instead of throwing an error, what we can do is we can just say console log, your username is blank. And not console log, of course. This is in JavaScript. System.out.println. Your username is blank. The last piece is important. We want to make sure we return here because we want the function to stop. We want it to stop running. I guess return's not going to work. Whatever. Let's see. It's giving us the thing. Unnecessary return statement. Whatever. I doubt that it's unnecessary. But anyway, we basically don't want it to do anything after that. So we're going to say the username's blank. Let's also check the password. We want to do the same for the password. So we'll do the same thing. If it's greater than 0, hooray. Otherwise, we want to print println your password is blank. Looks like that's not something. Reg password. Sure enough, it is. What is it telling us? It says it's private. Well, it's not. I'm sure it'll fix itself in a little bit. Okay, so there we go. We've done some basic validation to check if it's blank. We might also want to check, to see if, let's say that your password needs a capital letter, or I don't know, it needs a certain character, and it needs at least one number or at least one letter. You can do all that stuff here. So depending on what you're collecting, credit card information, social security information, whatever. This is where you do your validation. And you can do it a number of different ways. It'd be kind of irrelevant for me to go through all of them right now because it's kind of up to you. But this is where you put your conditional. You check to see above, check if the information is valid, and then you put in your conditional, checking if that Boolean is true or false. So, yay. Okay, assuming that everything is valid, though, we do eventually want to handle our registration information. So, we only want to check to see if the password is valid, if the username is valid, because we don't need to do two things, so let's move this over. There we go. And then if both are fine, which is what's going on in this if statement, let's run our register function. Should probably spell it right. Would be good. All right. Register. It's not static, so it's giving me a thing. There we go. All right, so in our register function, we need to encode our information and store it in our model. So I've started writing an encode function, and sure enough, we are going to work on that a little bit. So let's first declare a new string. We'll say string username equals, and we'll say view dot read username dot get text. That's the string we're going to send. And then we want to say that the username is equal to whatever we do to it in encode string. And this should, instead of void, it should return string. Sure. Okay, eventually we need to return something down here. We'll just put a blank thing now to silence the warning. This doesn't seem to like it. Non-static method, blah, blah. Okay, so this has got to be public static. Sure. Okay. So how do we do this? What are we going to encode? Now, you guys all wrote a Cipher function in your second project, which is what I'd like you to use here. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I gave you an article that talks about hashing. You can actually auto-hash a string by going string dot, I think it's hash code, like this. And you can actually just return this. The problem with hashes, though, is that they're one way, and this is a little magical. You don't actually get to see how this works. So we're not going to use hashes because I'd like you to use the function you wrote, but you could really do the same thing and it would be fine. So we're going to write our own thing. We'll do a little simple Caesar's cipher. So let's see. Ignore this stuff. This is just for reference. So we'll write a quick for loop for int I is 0, I is less than the length of string, and then add 1 to I each time, which is good. So we're going to say character, that's char is just one character, and it's going to be the character at I. So this character at method is a little bit new for you, but it's just kind of like doing this, but it just converts it to a char. So that's kind of what we want. And then you can actually cast chars as ints and get their ASCII values just like this. So we can say the ASCII value of each character is its int value, which works. All right, so with Caesar Cipher, everything is shifted a certain number of places up the ASCII table, which is right here in our key. So we're going to go ahead and use that. So we'll say ASCII equals ASCII plus key. So whatever it is, we're going to shift. Oh, no, that doesn't make sense. It should be, yeah, no, that does make sense. Why is it not working? Oh, right, it's got to be static. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so it's equal to ASCII plus key. Now, how do we get it back? How do we, now that we've shifted it, we need to convert each character back to its new value. So we can actually put it back into string where it was. So we can say string.character at, we can say that it's equal to a typecasted int. So you could probably do the reverse here. Maybe not. Might have to do it like this. No, doesn't like that. One sec. So you can just do, so if you typecast an ASCII as a char, you can say that this is like a new a new string. No, you can't do that. Wacky, but that's okay. So we're gonna create an array of chars first, like this, and then we're gonna convert the string to that char array. Good. And then in each one of these, we're just going to replace the thing in char array with our new one. So char array at I is equal to C. And then at the end, you want to just undo that. So you can do that by going char array dot toString. I think it works. Or it might be value of. What is it? Value of. There it goes. String dot value of char array. Cool. And that's what we're returning at the end. Okay, so hopefully that works. I think it should. Let's see. So we have it hooked up to the registration form, and that'll just, all that'll do is that'll encode the username. So let's, on the bottom here, let's just print out the username to make sure it's all working okay. We shall hope. Oh, apparently nothing is running. Okay. Oh, I got the wrong main class. Okay. Here's our username. Hello world. I'm going to make my password Bob. Okay, and sure enough, there is some sort of representation of our ciphered username. So that looks like it's working. Now, I don't think we want to print this in, you can print this in your console, but I prefer to just print it on screen. It's a little bit neater that way. So instead of system.out.println, let's put it in this text area that I've made, which is called jtextArea1. jtextArea1. Oh, that's in view, sorry. View.jtextArea1 is equal to what it's got already, plus let's add a line break, and then let's add, we'll say ciphered username, and then we'll add our username. And this should be set text. So now instead of logging it to the console, it should put it on screen for us. Let's see. Bob's username. There we go. Okay. Cool. So that handles how to encode things. And you have to do this for the password too. But that should be pretty easy. You could just say password equals encode string. And then we need a variable for the password too. Okay, very straightforward. All right, that all works as follows, and then you can do the same thing with the password here, but we'll leave it for now. What happens though when they log in? So when you store these hashed values in a table, now again, this could be whether they're hashed or ciphered or whatever you did, but when you store them, you actually never store the real representation of their name. You store the hash name, and you apply the same ciphering function to their information when they log in and check against that. That way you're never actually sending from client to server somebody's actual credit card information, just the encrypted one. So when they do log in, we'd want to put similar validation, but we're going to skip that for now. So our login action handler will just run the login function. When they log in, we need something to check it against. So assuming this all works, after we set the text, let's go ahead and store values in this model that we've created. So we need to have some sort of ability to store usernames and passwords. You can do this a number of ways. I think I'm going to choose to do it in a let's say a list of strings. So we need to import array list. Does that work? No. I would do array. Is it just array.array list? No. One sec. When in doubt, go back to other things you've written, java.util. That's not import. There we go. Cool. So I think we'll make an array list store the usernames and their information. So let's say we'll make a public variable. Should be static. And we'll have it be an array list of strings. And that'll be usernames. And another one of strings as well, and that'll be passwords. And we should keep these in order so that the first index of the username is the first index of password, so that they match basically. All right, here's our constructor. Public static voids model. I don't think it needs any arguments, so that's fine. And in this, we have to instantiate each of these. So usernames equals new array list. And they can be blank to start with. But we just need to create them so that they live. And then we need a method that is for adding a new entry. So add new. We'll say add new. We'll just say add new entry and do it both in one shot. So we need a string for username and a string for password. And then all these should do is add one of these to usernames, add item, and that should be adding username. Maybe add item doesn't work because it's just add. It is just add. Passwords.add password. Cool. So now we are dynamically adding to our model here. All right. So in our login function, we need to search that storage for anything that matches the hashed value of what the user put in. So we have to decode what they put in using a decode string method, and then check in our model to see if it actually is there. So let's go ahead and do that. We do need to decode, so that's kind of like doing this, except the opposite. So when we're decoding a string, instead of adding the key, we're just going to subtract it. And then this is going to not be void, it's going to return a string. Oh, actually, no, we don't have to decode it. We just have to encode it again. I'm sorry. That's wrong. Okay, so instead of, yeah, good. Okay, so our login, we're going to get the username from the username fields when they log in. So view.login username.getText, and we have to set these up in our view too. So let's go ahead and do that. So here's our login username, and this should be public. And this should be login password, and this should also be public. Good. Okay. And then we're going to get password. Okay. We want to set these to the encoded values. And then we need to check. So we need to check to see if these are in our model anywhere. So we can go ahead and write a method in our model that does this. We can say public, it should probably return a Boolean to say yes, it's there, or no, it's not there. You know, we could say that it's a match, public Boolean match, and we'll say have the first one be for a username. So match username. It should take a string as a username. And what we want to do is we want to loop through our usernames array list and see if there's a match. So we'll get a flag going. And at first it should be false because we haven't found a match yet. We'll write a for loop. And it should be usernames.size of is how you do this, or is it just size? It's just size. Yep. Okay. So we're going to check to see if each item in usernames is equal to, we want to see if it has the same characters as our inputted username. If it is, we're going to say matched is true. Didn't like that. Oh, this has to be true. No? Usernames at I, that should work. Maybe it's like dot object at, I doubt it though. No. Okay, gotta check out array lists again. Wait a sec. When in doubt, go back. That just prints out the whole thing. One sec. Dot get I. Yeah, there we go. So dot get I equals you, and if it's true, we're going to say matched is true. Otherwise, we don't have to do anything, it's already false. And then finally, we'll return that Boolean at the end. So that's cool. That should tell us if there's a match. And then in here, we want to check, or we want to run that. So we want to say Boolean matched username equals model.match and send the username. Cool. Finally, if matched username is true, we want to output something. We'll put on our view, or on our text area, whatever it is already. Plus a line break. And this is if the match is true. So we'll say user found in database. JText area 1. There you go. Otherwise, if it's false, we want to tell them that there was no match. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Let's go ahead and try to run it. There we go. What errors was it talking about? Oh, login's got to be static. There you go, NetBeans. Okay, so first we're going to register. We'll type in a username. We'll say hello world is the username, and we'll say hello is the password. So we're registered. And then we're going to try the same thing over here, and it should say that we found it. Oh, no it did not. It was angry with us. Line 30 on our model. That doesn't seem right. Alright, let's try it this way if it wants to be that way. Sure, let's give it a shot. It really wanted me to use the enhanced for loop. All right, hello world is the password. Hello is the username. Okay. Still the same thing. Let's see. We've got string and usernames. Usernames is a real thing. We've initialized it. We've added to. Did we ask it to run the add new entry? No, we did not. We did not ask the model to run the add new entry. There we go. All right. That's what was going on. It was trying. We had it instantiated, but there's nothing in it. All right. Oops, we have to register first, and then we have to log in. But it still doesn't want to work. What the hell? Hold on a sec. So here's what happened. The database, or sorry, the array list, you need to instantiate a blank one up here. So you just do, in your variable declaration, you do new array list. And then delete it from here. I don't know why it wasn't working though. It makes no sense, but sure enough, it was happening. So let's hopefully what we expected to happen happens. Let's say hello world is our username. Let's spell it right so we don't screw up later. And password is our password. We'll register. And then we'll type the same username over here and hit log in. Alright, so it logs that it's found us. Now if we change this a little bit, it should log that it's not found us. Alright? Now, you have to do this for both your usernames and your password. Remember, you have to check to make sure the password matches the username, which is a little bit different than what we did. But this gives you a good rundown of how to accept the user information, validate it a little bit, put it into your mock database, encode it, and then, print out what you need to print out. And that is going to just about do it for your project help video. If you have any questions, let me know. And happy encoding.